Terry, welcome back, my friend. It's Tuesday. We were so close yesterday, Terry, to getting a really nice pick four at Grants Pass, and I feel like I feel like we did an excellent job of handicapping and just missed because we had the one horse just missed in that third leg.
Yes.
We paired we got the right leg down to two horses where we picked the one that won confidently, and then the last leg you had singled to 8. Mm-hmm. I also put in the 4 in there as a little bit of a price to finish second, did close like we thought, and the 1 did get towards the front but never really could get enough in front of the 2 to discourage it, and the 2 just beat us by a half a head.
Yeah, something like that, really close. So
and I could hear, I live in Chicago and Terry lives in San Francisco Bay Area. And I could hear Terry yelling, come on, 1, come on, 1, all the way over here.
Not only that, I was saying, number 2, take that turn really wide. Take it wide. Let that 1 come in real good. Get some edge on you here. So,
yes, unfortunately, it didn't happen. But we did end up having the trifecta in the first race, which paid, I think for $1, it paid $70. And again, we talk all the time about, not everybody is a pick 4 player. So look at some of these horses and then use them in your selections as well. We both really liked the 2 in the second race, and he made easy work of the field. I liked the 1 in the third leg along with the 4. The 1 horse ran second, and that was 12-1, the one that beat it. So if you had taken the Terry approach and went all over the 1 and the 4, that exact, I don't know, I had to pay through the roof because that was like a $20 horse on top of a $1 horse.
Yeah, paid $302
for an exacta. And then, so if you had put them all on top of our picks, well, I think we had 3 picks in that race. And then finally in the last leg, the 8 horse was a single with the 4. And then the 4 horse was 12-1. I don't know what that exacta paid, but it had to be better than favorite because there was like 3 horses, I think, that were around 2-1.
Yeah, it paid $860.
With what was the 8 horse, like 3-5 he went off at?
Yeah, he paid $3. He was 1-2.
1-2. So
paid $3. Yeah.
So I feel like we did a good job of handicapping. Just sometimes when you construct the ticket, you miss one. We go back, and this is something I suggest everybody does. When you do your handicapping, go back to see why you missed, or what, maybe not why you missed, but what you could have perhaps found in the horse that won, and write it down, because it might be something that you use later on down the road that helps you identify a winner that you might have missed otherwise. And the one thing that I went back and noticed on that 2 horse is that in its speed figures, it regressed. And then in the following race, it improved but didn't win. But 2 races after the regression, it won. So the previous time it did that cycle, it just repeated that cycle. So it's something that you might want to keep an eye on. Just go back and try to understand what you missed, write it down so that you remember it. And it's another tool then in your toolbox, or at least like something you want to look for when you're handicapping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
So something that doesn't make much sense to me, Terry. Well, it does and it doesn't. We talk about this frequently on our show, is about the federalization of horse racing, right?
Right.
Government. And I said, government is the answer, LOL. And I put that out there. I do feel like there should be some uniform rules. We've heard from jockey after jockey, person after person who's on our Players Edge podcast about how they would like to have the same rules no matter what track they go to. And we'll talk about a possible solution to that down the line. But just to give you an idea of why I don't feel like the government is the answer, and I know a lot of people don't feel the government is the answer, but let's take a case in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, this is almost like a Saturday Night Live skit. In Massachusetts, they have money piling up for thoroughbred racing because they have this fund set aside from the casinos, from the agreements that they made in years past, where money goes from the casinos into a pile of money for thoroughbred horse racing. Well, guess what? They don't have any thoroughbred horse racing in Massachusetts.
There's none. So it just piles up.
It's almost stupid. Do you know what I'm saying, Terry?
Yeah.
And here you have $27 million, I think, or $20.53 million.
Yeah.
Just sitting there being not used for anything. You would think some enterprising horse racing people would be like, you know what? Maybe we should open a track. There's $20 million there for us to use.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I was thinking, why doesn't it bring people there to try to get a track going? So,
yeah. So, I mean, so there you have it. thoroughbred racing, saving money for thoroughbreds, putting thoroughbreds aside. But are there any thoroughbred races? No. Okay, great. So they're going to use that money for standard bred now. So they got to go back and change the rules so they can go ahead and use that money. And of course, you know that once they start getting into argument about using that money, the odds of it ending up around horse racing are probably pretty close to zero, I would suspect, right?
It's going to go to something else eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Some stupid thing that pays off a brother-in-law who does something for you down the line.
Yeah.
And then the next one here is in Kentucky. We talked about this the other day where they moved in these historic racing terminals, kind of like a slot machine, but it's historical racing. Mm-hmm. And now they're arguing over taxing it. How much do they want to tax it? So let me get this straight. If I understand correctly, when you put your money in on a horse to bet, and I know this is different, but you put your money in on the horse to bet so it goes into the pari-mutuel pool. One of the first things they do is take out the government's cut, right?
Yes.
So then, Terry, if you and I happen to get lucky and we turn a $2 winning bet into too big of winnings, what do they do to our winnings?
They take more taxes.
So they've already taxed the pool once. And then if you win enough, they're going to tax the pool a second time.
Correct.
And people want more government. Okay, it's to each his own. But I think that's pretty funny to me. So tax.
It's absolutely funny.
So now they want to, in Kentucky, there's half the people that are on the Republican side don't want gambling because of religious reasons. Okay. The other half said they want it, and now they're fighting over how much to tax it. Now that they have it, and it's proving to be somewhat successful, what do they want? Oh, we want more. We want more taxes. So they want to drive up taxes. So they're already taking money out of the pools. Then they take it away if you win, but they want to even tax it even more so there's less for you to win, even though they're going to tax it if you win too much.
Yes.
Did I get that? Did I get that right?
You did. And it's the way it is on almost everything you look at the government's involved with. So
do you feel like after looking at some of these examples that federal government intervention into horse racing across the entire country is actually going to make things better? Or do you feel like once you get 537 greedy people in there who feel like your money is their money that they can distribute amongst their friends or people who might vote for them, do you really feel like that might be a better thing for you in horse racing?
No, I don't. I've always thought that instead of the federal government, it should be all of the racing interests to get together and set something up that way that would cover the whole United States and keep the government out of there.
For me, I think it's pretty simple, Terry. You take the leaders, right? So you take Kentucky, you take New York, you take Florida, you take California, right? Those are your four main hubs of horse racing, where you have the Santa Anita, the Del Mar circuit, you have the Belmont, Aqueduct, Saratoga, you have Gulfstream down in Florida, and you have all the Kentucky tracks. Stronach Group could probably make this happen as well because they own Golden Gate, they own Santa Anita, they own Gulfstream Park, and they own a couple of other tracks too. They could just implement rules from track to track, right? So why doesn't Churchill Downs, Stronach Group, the NYRA, and all these groups get together and these major states make a compact between them and say, these are the rules that are going to be uniform from track to track to track, right?
Yeah.
If they did it, I assure you, Delaware would follow, Illinois would follow, Louisiana would follow. They would all follow because the trainers and the jockeys and all that would insist on it because they would want some of those horses to run in New York, California, in some of these bigger races.
Yeah, but the only problem is that states would then get involved because the states have their own commissions and things, and they've got people that push for that. They have lobbyists, and they get involved and try to stop a lot of that stuff.
But from what we've seen with the Bob Baffert experience with Churchill Downs and points, right? What we've seen is the tracks can institute their own rules. Right. So if the tracks were to get together.
Yeah.
And like I said, Stronach Group owns some of the major tracks.
Right.
So if they just said that these are the rules that we're going to apply across all of our tracks and stop and got Churchill to agree right there, you got Santa Anita, you have Golden Gate, you would have all the Churchill Downs tracks. You would have a big swath of all the major tracks agreeing that these are the rules we're going to follow.
Yeah.
What's up, Lolo? How are you doing today? So to me, that's how you solve that problem, Terry. I don't know if that's That way you don't have government fighting over taxes, trying to figure out how much they're going to take out of the pools. Because if the government gets involved, not only are the states going to take a cut off the top of the pools, but now the federal government's going to take a crop off the top if they don't already.
Oh, yeah, and the city takes some too,
And then there's less for the player.
That's right.
At the end, we're the ones that get hosed anyway.
Well, in pari-mutuel betting, if you have a 9 race day, by the time you get down to the end and they've been taken out of the pool every single race, there's nothing hardly left.
Yeah, you take 10% from $1 million, then 10% from 900,000, then 10% from 800,010. Because if that money continues to roll over, it's boom, 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 boom. I agree with you. And then they wonder one of the reasons why major, gamblers who understand takeout and the true odds don't really want to play around with horse racing that much. No, and then you have the rebates. So they really are at times stacking it against the average Joe.
Yep, that's true.
But you know how, Terry, we can help the average Joe overcome all these obstacles?
Give them winners.
And where do we find winners?
Well, on Terry's pick of the day.
There you go. I don't even have to coach you, Terry. Fire away, my friend. We're at PARX Race 2, which is probably coming up pretty quick. So let's get to it.
Yeah, it's number 1, Expensive Style, ran second in his last 3 races at 6 furlongs, today's distance, and he has the highest last speed rating and switches to jockey Paco Lopez, who in the last 7 days has a record of 10 starts, 4 wins, 2 seconds, 2/3. Then I like number 6, Visual Artist, took a 5-month break, but has 3 bullet workouts in a row in preparation to run this race. And the trainer, Jamie Ness, in the last 14 days, 23 mounts, 9 winners, 3 seconds, 2/3. Then I like number 2, Nice of Me, ran second after being bumped at the start and has a decent workout on June 2nd at Monmouth of 3 furlongs, 37 flat breezing, 9th best out of 35.
Jamie Ness wins all the races at PARX, right?
He does.
and Delaware as well. He's definitely a strong trainer at those 2 tracks. So the reason Terry picked PARX is because that's where we're going to do our Fly 4 today and our hot dog pick 4s, Terry. And I think you probably did your 3P parlay there if I know you well enough by now.
Yes, I did.
All right. So let's go ahead and pull up the Excel sheet where we will collaborate and do our Fly 4. Let's start in race number 6, Terry. Race number 6 is a 5.5 furlong race. Favors speed at PARX. It's track for now is fast though, and they are expecting perhaps some rain today, so the surface and conditions might change. I don't know if they have of yet. There were some scratches. Terry and I accounted for them. These are 2-year-olds, most of which don't have any experience. At least the ones that didn't fire very well in their first start. So. Whew. All right, Terry, I know that you would probably be inclined to go all here, but unfortunately, I don't think we have the budget to go all.
That's true. And just to let you know, all the races that were on the turf are now off the turf at PARX. But anyway, okay, since we can't go all, which is something that I think we should be able to, because it's hard to decide which horses. They all look about the same. There's only really one that's ran. But I like number 3, Summertime Sioux. Is my first choice. Breeding suits today's sprint distance, and the trainer has a record in the last 14 days at 23 starts, 9 wins, 3 seconds, and 2/3, as we've talked about earlier.
Scott Lake, number 3. Oh, Jamie Ness. Yes, he is definitely one of the better trainers in terms of, and he does win at maiden special weight about 19%. Although when I look at this, Terry, I think I see I don't know how Jamie trains his horses, but I don't really look at I'm not a big fan of the workouts. They're kind of slow relative to a couple of other horses here. And I went back and looked at the mamas and the papas for every single one of these horses here, just to see how mommy and daddy ran. Were they speed? Were they stalkers? Were they closers? The 3 horses, if I remember correctly, were all both the mama and the daddy. So Summer Front and then Tiz Paradise, the dam. They were more stalkers, closers than they were speed types. The 2 horses that have speed in their blood, if you will, are number 1 and number 6. So number 1 is the Burano and number 6 is Be Water. So when I compare the 1 and the 6 and their fractions, in their workouts, the 1 is considerably faster in his workouts and has that bullet and go The last workout was a bullet, which I really liked before the maiden race. So between the 1 and the 6, I chose to go with the 1.
Well, that's good news because that's my second choice.
Okay, fantastic. Any other horse that you're looking at here?
Well, number 2, La Chinga, only horse to have a race and finished 4th after going really wide, drops in class today.
I'm going to kind of maybe put the 2 off to the side if you don't mind, Terry.
Oh, that's fine.
It does have a race last time out, but it was bet at 32-1. And at 32-1, I am not a big fan. It didn't really fire out of the gates early. And as I mentioned, speed is key here. And when I did look at the fractions of the workouts, they're kind of slow relative to everybody else. And I know you wanted to go all here. So to me, the other horse, I mentioned the 6 horse, but another one, if you just look at straight workouts, you have to look at that 4 horse, A Case for You. Mm-hmm. And it has by far the best string of workouts in the field, the 4 horse. I looked at the mama and the papa on this one too. So when you looked at the 4 horse, both mama and papa were stalkers and closers. But yet when you look at those workouts, you think the Case of You is probably going to be fast out of the gate. So if it can get to the lead, it's likely going to have the legs to keep the lead and run on. And it's sort of like one of those things where you see like 2 good-looking parents that have an ugly kid, or 2 ugly parents that have a good-looking kid. You have 2 horses here that, were typically stalkers and closers, but it looks like their kid might be a speed horse.
Yeah, I understand. So which one do you like between the 4 and the 2 best?
Well, after looking, when you look at
the 4 and the 6.
When you look at the workouts, you have to like the 4 better than the 6. Although the 6, its parents were both speed horses too.
Oh, why don't you put the 4 in and the 6 off to the side?
Okay, and then we'll decide between the 6 and the 2 later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we have the budget, that's
well, right. We'll have the budget
because, as you said, this is so wide open that any horse that we pick is fine with me. So.
All right. Well, just look at, like I said, I ran through the pedigree of all these different horses and saw how their moms and dads run. And then I took a look at their fractions, because that's really all you have to go on, right? Is pedigree and what little limited work that they've put on paper so far. Right. So I figured let's look for the horses that are the fastest, that got good draws in a distance that probably suits speed. Let's see how it plays out. So race number 6 we just did. So race number 7, Terry, is 6.5 furlongs, optional claiming, non-winners of 2 lifetime. This is a pretty good field too, but we have some scratches here in this race. I think just the number 2 is scratched, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the horses that you like the most.
Okay. I like number 6, Milton the Monster. He ran a good second at 6 furlongs after an 8-month layoff, and now stretches out to 6.5, which should help. He has a high percentage trainer in John Service and a high percentage jockey, Frankie Pennington, who, of course, we both like. And the trainer wins 33% of the time with the second start with a turn. He has a sharp workout at PARX on September 29th, 48-1 breezing, 5th best out of 29.
Yeah, I agree. In a lot of respects, looking at these 4 races, if there was a standout horse in the entire ticket, I would say Milton the Monster is probably that horse. Would you agree?
I would, yes.
And he's run well at PARX. He's run well at the distance. If the track gets a little bit off, he's done okay with 2/3. Last time out was the first start after a long layoff. So that last race was his first as a 4-year-old, which he showed some improvement, which is something I want to see as horses go up the age scale. And I expect if you look back at his other second start off a layoff, it improved. That would only be its second career start. Milton the Monster showed some big improvement in race number 2 of its career. So if it follows that same pattern, I expect he'll be very difficult to beat. But if he's going to get beat, I'm looking at the horse that's stalling right next to him. I'm going to be jumping out of the gate with him. And that's number 7, Because I Can. He's 10-1 morning line, Terry. Yes. But if you look, he's another one that's making its second start off a layoff. He's only run 5 times in his life. So in his second career start, he improved. And what he showed in his debuts, he came out, showed a little bit of pace and kind of faded a little bit at the end, kind of ran evenly in his debut. Race number 2, he hopped out to the lead, kept the lead, and then drew away from the field to break his maiden. Race number 1 showed a little bit of early speed. Race number 1 off the bench, kind of faded towards the end. Race number 2, I'm expecting him to get to the front again, and if he can repeat that cycle, maybe he runs away from the pack again in race number 2.
Yeah, and actually, I like him quite a bit too. He broke on top in his last race at 7 furlongs, and now he cuts back a little, and I think that'll help. And he has a really good workout on August 14th. He went 48 breezing, third best out of 58.
Anybody else you like here?
Yeah, I like number 1. I'll defend. He comes in from Laurel Park to try PARX for the first time, and of course, trainer Jamie Ness we've talked about, and then he switches to jockey Kendrick Camouche. And the rail right now is winning at 26% of the clip. He has a highest last race speed rating, and his best dirt speed is fastest among today's starters.
I kind of like that horse too. It wasn't in my top 3. The one horse that's in my top 3, but I do agree. I like Kendrick. If the horse can get to the front, Kendrick is very aggressive with front runners, though he does not really have the strongest history of getting to the front. The other horse I have in here too is the 3 horse, Terry, and that is Counterfeit Currency.
Yeah, comes in from Monmouth Park. Yeah.
And he's kind of had a little bit of a decline in form, but one of the things that he has in here, and let me see if I can pull this up on the screen, Terry, so I can kind of show it to folks. So number 3, Counterfeit Currency. Let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger. So excuse me while I do this, folks. Okay, hopefully you can see Counterfeit Currency. If you look in here, early pace figure 84, mid pace figure 77, right? Late pace figure 93. So it came out with a little bit of speed, kind of tailed off a little bit in the middle of the race, right? And then picked it back up in the back end of the race. That is what some people refer to, or it can be referred to in different ways. And people, interpret these things differently. But some folks consider something like that what you would call a Z pattern. And that is it is a horse racing angle that does have some effectiveness. So when I see that, if the horse can run the middle part of the race very well, then I feel like it has a good chance to win this race. So I also like the 3 here. Do you want to put them off to the side for later on?
Well, we can. I like the 3.
So just throw them in there right away?
I would, yeah. The trainer, the blinkers were off last race. And then the trainer decided to put them back on, and he wins. The trainer wins 33% of the time when he puts blinkers back on the horse.
All right. That means I think we're about as deep as we can go here, Terry, in race number 7.
Okay.
But if there's a scratch, because like I said, the track is getting, there's forecast for rain and the surface could change. And of course, horses get scratched late. If there were a scratch, who would you want to put in there? Or would you just leave it as is?
If there's a scratch, I wouldn't mind looking at number 5, Victory Built.
All right. Why is that?
Well, he didn't get a good break at PARX in his last race, which he needs to have a good break. So he switches to high percentage jockey Ruben Silveira, and his best dirt speed is fastest among today's starters, and it's tied with another one. So
yeah, another horse that's making its second start off a layoff. So, and the second start with a trainer, which is a good angle for the trainer. The second off a layoff is not his best, but second time with a new horse has worked out well. Race number 8, Terry. This was supposed to be on turf. And when I was doing it last night, I looked at the forecast and I figured rain would be in the forecast. So I went ahead and did this based upon dirt. But before we do that, before we go on to the race, there's one thing that when I looked at the conditions here, allowance $45,000, non-winners of 1 lifetime, and something in my head went ding, 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 ding. Why do I remember these conditions for a reason? Yeah. And then I thought about it for a minute, and you know what it was?
No. What?
On our show this past Thursday with Todd Schrupp from TVG.
Yeah.
Remember him talking about non-winners and allowance races, right?
Yes.
And he said, if you go back and you look at where or at what level these horses in this type of condition break their maidens and you list them in order.
Yep.
You remember that? He said many times those horses are your winners.
Yes.
That in that group you find your winners. So you know what I did, Terry? I went back on every single horse before the scratches, and at that time there was 13 horses in the field, and I looked back on every single one to see where they broke their maidens, and I have that list. So as we go through it, we'll talk about where they went. But for me, I have a nice long shot in here that we'll get to. Well, screw it. We'll start with the long shot.
Okay.
Number 2 is Obstinate. And bettors who've put money on him have probably felt that way after he's really did not perform of late. 12 lengths, 11 lengths, 18 lengths behind the winner. But if you rewind back, all the way back to when he broke his maiden, he broke it at Churchill Downs in a maiden claiming $45,000.
He did on a good track too.
And I feel like if you a maiden claiming 45,000 at Churchill is, and I don't know, I haven't done the scientific math behind this, but I feel like a $45,000 claimer at Churchill is probably the equivalent of a maiden special weight 45,000 at PARX. It's just the feeling. Would you agree that that's probably true?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the 2-horse at 20-1, Terry.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I was expecting a little more rebuttal or something along those lines. All right, so who do you want to go next?
I like long shots, so
especially in pick fours if they hit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like number 9, Boom Boom Girl. She has won 2 out of her last few races, finishing in the money on the other 2. So 2 out of the last 4. She has a high percentage trainer, John Service, and a high percentage jockey, Frankie Pennington, again. And her best, that doesn't matter anymore. So because it's off the turf, but I like her. So there's plenty of scratches in here. There's a lot of scratches. So
number 9, Terry, makes that list of horses that ran and broke their mating at the highest levels. Number 9 broke its at maiden claiming 40,000 at PARX, not the highest of the group, but in the top 4 for sure. Mm-hmm. The other horse in here, Terry, that didn't scratch, that also broke its maiden it was maiden claiming, and guess what? I don't have it, so I'm gonna have to create this number on the fly, my friend. Okay. The number 13.
Okay.
I don't have it off to the right there because most of the fields only go to 12, right? But Southern Sense. I mentioned that with the 2-horse, that running at Churchill Downs maiden claiming 40,000, 45,000, I felt was the equivalent of probably a similar maiden special rate at a lower track, if you will. Yeah. Well, the 13-horse Southern Sense broke its maiden at a maiden claiming 32,000 at Oak Lawn Park, which I consider to be like right behind like the Belmonts and maybe that's even a misinterpretation, but I feel like behind Santa Anita, behind Belmont, behind Churchill, that's where you find a track like Oak Lawn.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, it won it by 15 lengths, so it won it pretty easy.
And on a track that wasn't all that, it was a little bit wet.
Yes.
So that horse, to me, is my other choice in this spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I looked at it pretty hard. It was my 4th pick, actually.
Oh, there you go. So that leaves one more maybe here, Terry, because we're starting to get borderline on the edge of our budget based upon because I feel like race 9 is wide open too.
Yeah, I like the number 12, Lean on Me. Lean on E. Got in the race because it came off the turf. She ran second in her last 2 races at Park, and she has a high percentage trainer and switches to a high percentage jockey. So Sylvia Rubin-Soulier.
One bad thing, though, Terry, about the 12-horse.
What's that? Is it scratched?
No, it's not scratched, I don't think.
Okay.
No. But it broke its maiden at the lowest level of all the horses in the field.
Yeah.
But we'll put him in there. Is it a lock for you?
No, not really. But I do like it a lot.
The other horse that we had in here, Terry, was the 6-horse.
Okay.
He broke his maiden at the maiden special weight 35,000. So special weight. Didn't have to drop in class to get his win. And that's the 6-horse, Rolls-Royce Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
It's making its 3rd start off a layoff. If you look back at its other 3-race cycle, it ran just as good as it ran in any of the other races in the 3-race cycle. So let's go ahead and toss the 6 off to the side. Okay. And we'll come back and figure out which one of these that we like. So we have some extra work to do.
Yes, we do.
Race number 9, Terry. This is, again, a fast one. It is this one's a mile and 70 yards. So
yeah.
But it does favor speed, the distance and surface, and it does tend to favor inside post numbers. And I really feel like This race is wide open.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
I'm going to start with horse number 7, Terry, and I have a specific reason why. The jockey, Frankie Pennington, I think had his choice here on a couple of other top competitors. He rode the 3, Flat Out Flashy before. He also rode on the 9 horse, I think, before. He rode on the 5 and he rode on another one too. I think the 8 horse. And he decides to ride on the 7 horse instead. So a lot of times I feel like jockeys, he's riding the 5 horse. I'm sorry. This is why I'm mixed up. I can't read my own handwriting. The 5 horse Frankie's on. And he also had a chance, I think, to ride the 3 or the 7. And instead he chose to ride the 5. And the 3 and the 7, I feel like, are both competitive in this field as well. So if one of the top jockeys says, I like the 3 horse over the 5, I like the 5 over the 3 and 7, I'm going to back him.
Okay.
I hope I didn't confuse everybody as I did myself.
What you're saying is the 5 is the one you like. The Jones Bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that horse. Well, I love it, like it, whatever. It's my second pick. He won 2 races in a row, so he's going for a hat trick. And the trainer has, he has the trainer John Service, and as you said, Frankie Pennington, and he has 2 bullet workouts in a row. So yeah, I like it. So let's use that one.
Pretty sharp coming into this spot. What do you like?
Okay, I like. Let's see. Did I talk about number 3?
No, I talked about every horse in the field already, so I'm sorry for messing this up.
Flat Out Flashy. He has finished in the money at today's distance 50% of the time, winning 18% of those races. So anyway, the trainer has a good record in the last 14 days, 23 starts, 9 wins. And his best his highest speed figure at today's distance, he has the best one, and he has the best dirt speed among today's starter. He has a good workout at PARX on 28th, 47.3, breezing 5/5 of 23. So
you like the 3 horse. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I like the 7, 8, and 9. I know Paco Lopez is riding the 7 horse, Terry. And when you look at his numbers, no, he's not riding the 7. He's riding the 8. When you look at, I'm all confused. So when you look at Paco Lopez, he's riding the 8 horse, Inspired Options, and it shows you that he's won 28 races, right? So that's fantastic. But 17 of those races. So when I look at his record on a long track, right, a longer race, most of his wins have come on sprints. A great majority of them have come on sprints. Very few of them, or relatively speaking, comparatively speaking. So he hits at about 40% on the sprints and about 22, 23% on the route. So he's a much better sprint jockey than he is a route jockey in terms of what the numbers saying. I'm not making any commentary on his ability to be a jockey. So that comes down to for me, the 7 or the 9. And looking at the 2 of them, I kind of like where the 9 came off his last race, lightly raced, and I also like where the 7 came off with the highest last race speed figure. So I'm torn, Terry.
Well, I'm going to help you out because I actually like the 7 better than the 9.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And any other horse that you like?
Well, let's see. You talked about the 8, right? You put it in there, right?
I did not put him in there because I was mentioning with the 8 is Paco Lopez. As strong as his numbers are, they're not as strong in routes as they are in sprints. If this were a sprint, he'd be an absolute stamp. Must have this horse in here, but I don't have that same feeling in a route.
Okay. Well, the thing I really liked about the 8 was that he's won 3 times out of 4 races at this distance. And Lopez in the last 7 days have finished in the money 80% of the time, winning 4 of those. But it's not something that I'm going to push to have in there. So
all right, so we'll just put the 8 in there because I agree with you. The 8 horse did make my 5. I just, like I said, I feel like that maybe I didn't want to overvalue Paco based upon the top line number. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper in his performances and see where he's at. So Right now, Terry, we are at 1648 times 3 is 12. What is that? 100 and 12, 48. Wait, 48 times 324 carried a 2, 12, 144. So that's $72.
Yeah, so we could do one horse in the. I'd love to do it in the first race because I think that's the one that's going to be the hardest to get. So
okay, but we also have half the field right now, so that also be 50% chance we can get the winner there. All right, I'm with you. So which one do you want to go with? Do you want to go with the 2 or the 6? Personally, I feel like the 2 has experience. The 6, its pedigree is speed. Does catch an outside draw, so I'm going to leave it up to you.
Let's go with the 6.
Fantastic. So we'll go with the 6.
And I'll tell you the reason why. That's the morning line favorite, and I don't want to get beat by that morning line favorite.
Never fun to lose on the one that the morning line maker tells you should have had to begin with.
Yes, that's true.
All right, so that's our ticket. That's going to be $96 because we've done this so many times that I don't need to do the math off on the side. So we have the 1, the 3, the 4, the 6 in race number 6. Race number 7, we have the 1, 3, 6, and 7. Of course, if there's a scratch or you want to fatten out your ticket, you can add the 2 in the first leg or just go all if you're going to add the 2. And then the 5 horse in race number 7. In race number 8, we're going the 2, the 9 to 13. That's the Todd Schrupp angle of horses that win at the maiden level. Again, you might want to go over to Horse Racing Radar. Check out that podcast with Todd Schrupp from TVG because that wasn't the only kernel of wisdom that he put out there during our show.
No,
and then
he had plenty of them. So.
And then if you want to add depth, we both like the 12 and the 6. And the race number 9, again, it's a pretty wide open race. We go with the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 8, and the 9 as an alternative if you have a little bit more bankroll than we do. And if a horse scratches, you might want to replace it with the 9. Do you think that about sums it up?
I do. Yeah, I really do. So.
Let's take a look at how Terry and I did them on our own. So Terry did go all in the first leg, didn't you?
I did.
And then in race number 7, you went with the 1 and the 6. Race number 8, which is, I thought, a pretty wide open race. So I'm going to give you a lot of kudos for having the courage to single one horse in that race with the 9. But you got to make a stand somewhere, as they say, right?
You do, yeah.
Absolutely. And then Terry goes with the 3, the 5, and the 8. Let's see. Joe Exotic says, Learjet has been entered the Grade 2 Neurocatic Stakes over 6 furlongs of Woodbine, Canada on Sunday. Well worth E-way bet, guys. All right, we'll take a look at that one on Sunday. For me in PARX race number 6, I took the 1 and the 4. Again, I looked at the pedigree, looked at the workouts, and settled on those 2. Got to make a stand somewhere. And as I mentioned, I felt like the 6 was the standout in any of the 4 races. Race number 8 went straight with the 2, 6, 9, 13. Those were the 4 horses that broke their maidens at the highest level. Yep. And then finally, in race 9, I went deep because I feel like any one of these horses can win. 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Terry's ticket's $18. Rich did the Terry and spent his entire allotment, $20.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Finally, Terry, let's take a look at the 3P parlay. You again stayed at PARX. When I look at your horses, you have a little bit of charm, boom, boom girl, and flat out flashy. Mm-hmm. If you've been paying attention to the news in Urban Myers down there in Jacksonville, that sounds like Urban's night out on Saturday.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Had a little bit of charm. He met a boom, boom girl, and they got a little bit flat out flashy on Twitter and Instagram where people share these videos. So for me, I'm over at Belterra Park today, race number 4, 5, and 8. These are our best bets on our horse racing radar site. If you go to the premium picks, those are my best bets today at Belterra Park. Speaking of horse racing radar, you can and free bets. If you go to our premium picks page, Terry, then you'll see we have premium picks here. These are all the races that we've covered today. Every single horse ranked from top to bottom, or at least our top 6 picks. And this little red icon over here means that Mountaineer, it's free. You can download it. And this is what you'll get. Boom. From our partners over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet. Every horse, every race, our rankings over there. And you can see here, number 4 is our best bet. That's absolutely free. You can get them at either Guaranteed Tip Sheet or Horse Racing Radar. And you've used them in the past, Terry.
I have, and I would suggest that everybody at least go, if you're trying for the first time, try that free one just to see how good they are. So they've worked out really well for me, a lot. And one of the things I love about them is that they not only do the major tracks, but they do the smaller ones. And I love small tracks like Grants Pass.
I love it too when the one horse beats the two.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And
unfortunately, couldn't get it done yesterday.
You know, and that trifecta in that race was over $1,000. So
sad that we didn't have it. Well, what are you going to do? It would be nice to have them all, Terry, but they can't be all winners, unfortunately. But if you want to be a winner, Terry, today, absolutely, without horse racing, what can you do?
Well, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and retweet, I guess.
Yeah, retweet.
Yeah,
It's all the
retweet. Like us on Facebook at racingradar.com or Racing Radar.
Yes, indeed. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, follow us. If you're on Facebook, a like would be great because that's in their algorithm. That's it with if their website is up, right? I said it crashed around the whole planet yesterday.
Yeah,
but if they've paid their bills, Mark Zuckerberg, and Facebook is actually working today, if you could kindly go ahead and give us a like, that would be fantastic. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It's right there. And then with the subscribe button, the bell, and it'll let you know when we're going to go live, Terry and I, every day at 1 o'clock, unless Facebook is down screwing up the entire world's internet connection.
That's right.
In which case we'll be delayed and we'll go live on YouTube as soon as we can.
And I'll tell you, if you subscribe on YouTube, I promise you I'll give you a free pick every single day.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully they're a winner more often than not as well, right?
That's true.
All right, Terry, that wraps it up. We'll be back tomorrow in 23 and 15. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be doing Indiana Grand. They have some nice stakes races tomorrow, so it should be a good card. Hopefully, we don't bring out the rain clouds.
I hope not. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. I've been looking at it this morning. So
fantastic. We'll see you in 23 and 15 as Terry and I go over today's news. Terry's best bet, of course, we'll be making our pick fours at Indiana Grand. If you'd like us to highlight yours, send it to us on Twitter, Facebook, or directly to my email at gtsrichb@gmail.com. Terry, until we see you again tomorrow, as always, everybody, good luck at the races, and may we see your picks in the
winner's circle.
Absolutely.